What's going on, everyone? So, I had a friend of mine who is getting into tracking her nutrition, counting calories, tracking macros, and all that stuff. And she's very, very new to this. And she wanted to know about macros, about calories, about macro splits, and about how to use a food scale and how to properly track your food. So, I thought I'd try to make this a very quick, very simple, very straightforward video on how to do all this stuff. I have lost around 60 pounds at this point, so I kind of know what I'm doing. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't have a chalkboard or a whiteboard, unfortunately, so this paper is going to have to do. I hope this is not terrible. We'll see how this goes. So, we got macros right here, and the basics. I'm not gonna go into scientific detail about what macros are because honestly, I just don't know. But what you basically need to know is that macros are your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. And these equal calories. Okay? So your proteins and your carbs are both 4 calories per 1 gram. Your fats are 9 calories per 1 gram. Alright? That is something very basic. These equal your total calories, right? Now, as far as what protocol should you have when you're cutting, that is very dependent. So, usually people will say that you should take in 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, right? But that's really for guys who are more of advanced lifters who have a lot of muscle mass to lose and not a lot to gain. So this is for great when you've already established a baseline. And if you're somebody who's skinny fat or skinny and you're bulking, and then you go on a cut afterwards, this is a great protocol to follow as well when you're cutting. However, for people like obese guys and fat guys who need to cut first, I always recommend 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, which is less, but it is enough to not only build muscle, but it's also a good marker of keeping your diet in check because usually the more protein that you have, the healthier your diet is. Not always the case, but just especially when you're making lifestyle changes, I've always found that to be more true. So let's have a basic macro template here. We have 2,000 calories as our total daily goal. All right. Now you could do this in a various number of ways. You could go 40% carbs, 40% protein, and 20% fats. You could do it like that. Or you could go 40% carbs, 35% protein, 25% fat. You could do it something like that. Or you could do any combination of this. It really doesn't matter too much. But what I always recommend is, for men especially, because I am a man, is that you want a minimum of 150 grams of protein. That is your minimum. You never want to hit anything less than this number. This is what you should be hitting every single day. And this is really the most important thing because you can have any combination of this, right? So let's say you frame it like, for our 2,000 calorie example, let's say your split is a pretty standard split, right? This is something that I followed for a long time. So I had a 200 grams of carbs, I had 150 grams of protein, and I had, what is that, around 67 grams of fat. Not too sure if that's exact math, but it's around that number. And really, this number right here, that protein number, was the number I focused on the most. I didn't care if I sometimes had like 180 grams of carbs and like 54 grams of fat, or maybe 80 grams of fat and like 150 grams of carbs, or 220 grams of carbs. None of that shit matters, right? Because this number is the most important, right? That 150, I hit that every single day. And all of this has to equal 2,000 calories. That is the most important part. All right? Because you're in a deficit. You got to lose weight on 2,000 calories. Well, some of you are. Most of you are. My lady friend is probably not going to lose weight on 2,000 calories, but you understand what I'm trying to say, right? The carbs and the fat, yeah, if your body does better on carbs, have more carbs and less fat. If your body does better with fat, have more fat and less carbs. But you never ever sacrifice your protein. So let's say I want to take this 2,000 calories down to 1,800 calories. Now, me personally, I would probably pull that from my fat. So I would probably do something like this, where I'd have keep my 200 grams of carbs, I'd keep my 150 grams of protein, and I'd probably pull about let's say I'd drop the fat down to about 45 grams of fat. I actually don't. That might be too much. Now that I think about it, but this is where I would do. Right, personally. Now, if somebody was, let's say, they really liked the amount of fat and they didn't want to give up the fat, but they could lose the carbs, well, then you just drop your carbs. So 200 calories is about 50 grams of carbs. So you drop your carbs, you keep your protein, and you keep your fat. See? Again, but what matters is that these equal to 1,800 calories. All right, and as the cut gets progressively deeper, you're going to have to make these adjustments maybe even more often. Some people carb cycle, where they have really low carbs on one day and and moderate carbs on a different day, or high carbs on a third day. Some people obviously go keto, which they drop these carbs down to 0, or at least less than 20. And they have just really high fat and moderate protein, right? Whatever that means. But for me personally, I always prefer even splits like these. And I can go with less fat because I prefer higher carbs. I like my pastas and my pancakes and my waffles. So I like higher carbs in my diet. But again, if you're somebody who works better with fats, like you like a lot of butter, a lot of cheese, thick, heavy sauces, heavy creams, like you can go without carbs, but you prefer fats, especially on your meats. That is definitely something that you can do as well. Again, the most important thing right here to remember, proteins are 4 calories per gram. Carbs are also 4 calories per gram, and fats are 9 calories per gram. Now, in terms of weight loss, right, there's about 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. It's not exact, but it's about 3,500 equals a pound, right? So in order to lose 1 pound, you have to be in a 3,500 calorie deficit, meaning you have to burn more than you eat. Or really, eat is not the right word. More like you have to burn more than, well, we can just say eat. Fuck it. To burn more than you eat, basically. So that means that, let's say your maintenance is, I'm just throwing out a number here, 2,500. Right? If you want to burn 1 pound per week, you'll need to be in a 500 calorie deficit every single day. Fuck, I don't remember how to spell deficit. Is it I-T? Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm just terrible. I'm terrible at English. You want to be in a 500 calorie deficit every day. Every day. Which means that your daily caloric intake is going to be 2,000 calories. Pretty simple, right? Your maintenance is 2,500 calories. You want to burn a pound per week. You need to be in a 500 calorie deficit every single day. That means every day you're eating 2,000 calories. If you want to burn 2 pounds, that is 1,000 calorie deficit. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to spell that. Every day. 2 pounds, 1,000 calorie deficit every day. That means you need to be eating 1,500 calories. For a man, that is pushing the limit. You never want to eat less than 1,500 calories if you're a man, and I believe it's 1,200 if you're a woman. So yeah, that's the basics of it. Now, 2 pounds per week is pretty intense, pretty rapid weight loss. If you're somebody who has a lot of muscle, you're going to be burning the shit out of your muscle. There's no way around that. But for someone like me who was obese, this is achievable pretty easily, but it's because my maintenance is going to be way higher than that. I think when I started, my maintenance was somewhere in like the 3,400s when I was the fattest, and it's come down gradually as I cut, which means that you're going to have to make adjustments because there is going to be times where you've lost a lot of weight, and then you're going to hit a plateau and that's because your maintenance is going to be decreasing as you lose weight. And that's because you simply just have less weight, and therefore moving around takes less energy. That's pretty simple. You can increase this number. It is possible to increase this number through activity, such as like cardio and stuff. But I would look more as cardio as a tool to train your heart versus cardio as something that can help you in your weight loss. Because your diet and the composition of your diet is going to help you with that weight loss. This is the only thing that really matters when we're talking about weight loss. Macros. Alright. And honestly, we're talking about percentage splits over here. This sort of stuff doesn't matter, in my opinion. Like, it's sort of negligible, alright? Again, what really, really matters is your protein. You want to make sure you're hitting a protein number that is sufficient. Again, if you don't have a lot of muscle mass, you can do 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, or you can do 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight if you're not super heavy. If I did that when I started, I would be eating 275 grams of protein, and that would have been almost impossible for me because, I didn't really know anything about any of that shit, so... I mean, I probably could do it now if I really wanted to, but... And if you are interested in what my split is currently, I will show you. So let's use me as an example, right? My current split, I am on a 2,000 calorie diet, right? I'm anywhere from 2,000 to 1,800. Alright? Calories per day. This is sort of my cutting range. I'm not super worried about any number in between these two, as long as I'm hitting no less than 1,800 and no more than 2,000. I'm very, very loose with my macros currently. But what I am not loose with is my protein. So I'm getting to the stage in the game where I'm going to have to start eating a lot more protein than I usually have been. I usually ate 150 grams per day, but right now I'm eating about 180 to 200 grams of protein per day. This number is very important to me. I do not eat anywhere less than this. And the reason it's 180 to 200 is because, I'm not really concerned about the specifics of this again at this time. It doesn't really matter that much. But I do try to hit that 200 number the most. I think because I'm over 200 pounds and I'm going to eventually be under 200 pounds, I think 200 is a good place to start. And again, my carbs and fats, right? So we're talking about carbs, we're talking about fats. My carbs and fats are whatever. Again, I don't really care about the carbs and the fats that much. I don't care about the composition. If you would like to know, I usually intake about 200 grams of carbs and about 35 grams of fat. My fat is usually very, very low. I tend to do well. But there are some days where I eat 150 grams of carbs and I'm eating like 67 grams of fat. Sometimes I eat 80 grams of fat and more like 120 grams of carbs. It doesn't really matter, right? Because all that matters is that it equals between 1,800 to 2,000 calories. That's all that matters. Obviously, and then the plus the 200 grams of protein, right? That's all that matters. So you see what I'm saying? Like the overall composition doesn't matter. It's whatever your preference is. If you like more fats, you eat more fats. If you like more carbs, eat more carbs. Just make sure that your protein is in check. Have adequate protein, and you're hitting your calories. That is what fucking matters, more than anything else. Calories and protein. The composition of these calories, aside from the protein, doesn't matter. All right? All right. So this was actually a pretty long explanation. I hope that I explained everything correctly. And if you guys have any more questions, leave them down below. I'm going to go talk about a food scale and how to properly track your food. I want to take you guys through how to use a food scale. It's very, very simple and easy to understand. So here are the main ways that you can use a food scale. So, when you're tracking your food, how should you track your food? To get started, we're not even going to look at the scale just yet because we got to understand how to read labels. This is a Power Crunch bar. My favorite flavor of Power Crunch, actually, Red Velvet. On the back are the nutrition facts. All right, this is going to focus. All right, as you can see, our calories are 220, and our serving size is just one cookie, which I suppose is just this whole wafer thing. They call it a cookie. Per one cookie is 13 grams of fat, 11 grams of carbs, and 13 grams of protein. Pretty evenly split on these Power Crunch bars. Now, once you're counting your calories, you are going to need a calorie counting app. Or you could write it down on a piece of paper like an old person. But, if you're old school like that, hey, more power to you. But I use MyFitnessPal. So this is I don't even know if you guys can see that. So this is MyFitnessPal. So this isn't my personal MyFitnessPal, but this is the MyFitnessPal app. So let's say I really want to snack on that Power Crunch bar. Well, you just go to add food, and here you can do a number of things. You can search Power Crunch bar Red Velvet. Boom. 220 calories, 11 grams of carbs, 13 fat, 13 protein. That is our big ticket item right there. Plus, it adds it to our thing. I put it in the snacks section. If you don't have premium, you get 3 meals plus snacks. Alternatively, and a much more efficient way to do it, is you go to add food and you select this barcode option in the top right corner. That brings up a camera, all right? and it allows you to scan the barcode. So I'm going to go ahead and put the barcode in front of the camera. It scans it. Bam. Power Crunch Bar. 220, 11, 13, 13. We're going to add that. A great way to easily track stuff. I can do it with this muscle milk over here that I drank yesterday. All you need is the thing with the barcode. That is why it's imperative that you keep packaging. All right. So this is how you track your food, and you can go into MyFitnessPal. You can look at your splits. You can go ahead and edit these splits. You can say, I want, you can do any number of this stuff, edit it around, move it around. I'm not going to do too much with this already because this isn't mine. But you get the picture, right? You can set your goals. I'm not going to teach you how to use MyFitnessPal, okay? MyFitnessPal is pretty simple and straightforward. You can learn how to use it on the app itself. All right, now that I've talked about how to identify what a serving size is and how to properly enter your food into MyFitnessPal, we're going to talk about this bad boy, which is a food scale. Food scales are very important. If you want to be precise, if you want to make sure you're getting the correct amount of macros that you need or that you would desire, you're going to need to buy a food scale. You can buy them at a grocery store. Most convenience stores, I've even seen one at a gas station once, and of course you can buy it online. So we're going to boot it up. The food scale my food scale personally has 4 settings. So this is grams, right? Because you can see the little G right here. I don't know if you can see it, I'm sorry. Then you have fluid ounces, milliliters, and pounds and ounces for weight. We're going to keep it on grams for right now. So, how do you use it? Well, first you want to put the container on. Alright? That weighs 178 grams. We don't care. So you want to zero this out. Now, my zero out button is the same as the on and off button. Some people actually have zero out buttons. It depends on what kind of food scale that you have. I'm hankering for a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. So, first off, let's look at the label. So up here is the serving size. So serving size is 3/4 of a cup. Well, that's not perfectly accurate. How do you determine what 3/4 of a cup is? Or 28 grams. That is your key. So we got our scale on. We're going to open up our Cheerios. We're going to pour. Boom, 28 grams. That is 1 serving of Cheerios. It's that simple. And 1 serving of Cheerios, if we go back to the nutrition label, 1 serving is going to give us 1.5 grams of fat, 22 grams of carbs, and 2 grams of protein. For a total of 110 calories. Very simple. That's all you really need to know as to how to use a food scale. Usually, almost every single thing is going to have either a gram or a volume measurement. Now, for your volume items, such as your milks, your juices, your liquids, you can put those into a measuring cup, and that'll be just fine. Those are what the measuring cups are for. But even something as simple as egg whites, you can grab a bowl or a container, put it on the scale, just pour it in until it reaches the desired number. If it's 1 gram or 2 off, it really does not make that much of a difference. Don't major in the minors. Trust me. As long as you're within the ballpark, don't go 10, 20 grams over, obviously. But, try to be as accurate as you possibly can be. Now, a couple of interesting things. Some people are saying, well, what about nut butters? How can I possibly weigh nut butters on a scale? So here's what I do. I take my bread, right? Here is the bread. I put the actual nut butter itself on the scale. So obviously the scale is off. I'm going to take the cap off of the nut butter. Alright. So let's look at this nut butter really quick. This is almond butter, one of my favorite things. 1 serving is 2 tablespoons or 32 grams. I only want half a serving. So I put it on, I turn on the scale. It's at 0. I'm going to go ahead and take my knife and I'm going to take some out. Get a good thing there. As you can see, it says minus 12 right there. That is how much you just took out. You took out 12 grams. All right, I want 16. I'm going to spread it around. I might not even need 16. This might be enough. Well, a little more wouldn't hurt. So I'm going to go ahead, take it off, just try to slide a little bit out. We're at minus 14. Now we're at minus 14. That might be enough too, but well, I'll just try for a little bit more. We're minus 15. Oh, that really was just a little bit more. But that's perfectly fine enough. There you go. I just used half a serving of that nut butter. That is how you can measure things that are in a container that you have to scoop out. Very, 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 very simple. And of course, you track your slice of bread. I now have a little mini sandwich. What I like to do is I like to just fold it over. Bam, mini sandwich. Pretty simple. Again, not complicated. You'd figure a lot of people would just do this because that way you know how much food you're getting. Now, lastly, for your powders, right? A lot of people like protein shakes. I find that sometimes it's best to measure your protein shake because sometimes companies will underserve you on the scoops. They'll give you a scoop that's just not quite a serving size, which is really lame, but it is what it is. So here's my empty water bottle. I'm going to fill it up. My desired amount. That's about good enough. I only want 1 scoop. I'm going to take my Optimum Nutrition Whey Isolate. All the nutrition facts are right here. 1 scoop is about 38 grams. And by the way, there's the barcode if you want to scan that on your MyFitnessPal. So obviously, I don't really care about how much water is in here, right? Because water has no calories. I'm going to zero that out. Open up my powder. I'm going to level off the scoop so it's about, just at level. Pour it in. And 39 grams. Oh, that's pretty accurate. 40. Well, whatever. Good job, guys. Optimum Nutrition has your back. So yeah, that's basically it. All you need to know about how to use a food scale right there. And what macros are, how to track them, how to figure out what's on a serving size. Again, nutrition labels are very key. Read the nutrition label. So a couple of last points before I close this video. Number 1, there's been a lot of speculation about weighing foods, cooked versus non-cooked, dry versus non-dry. You get the picture. My philosophy on that is this. I don't care which route you decide to take, just be consistent. Be consistent. What do I mean? Well, let's use me again as an example. Let's say I'm cooking some Alfredo, right? I'm cooking some Alfredo and I've got some pasta, I got some shells, and I got some chicken I want to throw in that Alfredo. I will always cook the chicken first and then weigh it afterwards. Every single time. And I do that across the board with all of my meats. I do that with my fish, I do that with my beef and my turkey, my sausages, whatever it is. When it comes to meats, I cook them first and then I weigh them afterwards. That is not, however, what I do with my pasta. So my pasta, I will always pour it into the bowl dry because it says on the thing, this is how much it is dry. Also, make sure you're reading the packages. Again, if it says that this is pre-cooked or dry or uncooked or post cooked or whatever, abide by that package. Otherwise, remain consistent. So, like I said, I always weigh my pasta, but I always weigh it dry, and then I cook it. I know it's 112 grams of pasta, right? And I know it's 8 ounces of chicken. So I always put 112 grams in the bowl before I cook the pasta, and I always cook the chicken first and then put it on a cutting board and weigh it out from there, and then put it into the pasta as well. Again, just remain consistent across the board. You should be fine. If you want to cook your meat, but weigh it first before you cook it, that's totally cool. I'm actually thinking about doing that myself because I'm not too sure how much the volume of something changes. Um, or if you want to, for instance, if you, for rice, I know if you cook a full cup of rice, it is a lot of fucking rice. So a lot of people weigh their rice after they've cooked it. They just put a cup of rice after it's already been cooked onto their bowl. I do that as well. However, if you want to say, I want a half a cup of rice, and I feel like it's more accurate if it's dry, then by all means do that. But again, just remember, remain consistent across the board. That is very important. And yeah, I think that's about it. I can't really think of anything else I wanted to mention right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was really long. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to become less rambly. I might, if I ever get better at this and consistent, I might do a follow-up video or another version of this video. But for right now, I hope that it made sense, and I hope that you understood it, and I thank you guys for watching. I wish you all luck on your body composition goals, whether you're bulking or cutting, or, you know, whatever you're trying, or even just maintaining, whatever you're trying to do. I wish you guys luck, and hopefully tracking your macros and weighing out your food is going to lead you to success. In fact, I absolutely know it's going to lead you to success. Just make sure you stay consistent and, working really hard. So, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you.